In the 1980s, Alaskan cyclists welded together fat, multi-rim wheels just to survive the snow, a radical invention born from true necessity. Decades later, these bikes sparked a global craze, only to vanish from trails almost overnight. The consequences reshaped mountain biking for good, but why did fat bikes, once marketed as invincible, quietly disappear? The real story begins in the freezing wilds of Alaska. Long before fat bikes became a symbol of outdoor adventure, Alaska winter riders faced a problem that ordinary bikes simply could not solve. In the depths of winter, snow drifted deep across trails and roads. Standard mountain bike tires, narrow, slick, and prone to sinking, left cyclists stranded or forced to walk for miles. The answer did not come from a catalogue or a trade show. It came from the hands of local tinkerers who refused to let the snow win. In Anchorage, in the late 1980s, Steve Baker of Icicle Bicycles took a welder to the problem. He joined 2 or even 3 rims side by side, creating a single extra wide wheel. These homemade wheels, sometimes measuring over 4 inches across, could accept 2 tires at once, spreading the rider's weight enough to float over soft snow. The frames and forks had to be built from scratch, each one a custom job tailored to the wild conditions outside. These were not mass-produced solutions. They were survival machines, born from necessity and built one at a time in cold garages and small shops. The urgency intensified in 1987 when the first Ideta bike race challenged riders to cross 200 miles of Alaskan backcountry in winter. 26 cyclists lined up at the start, facing deep snow, glare ice, and overflow water. Many ended up walking their bikes for hours. The race exposed the limits of existing equipment and pushed builders to innovate even further. By the early 1990s, Simon Rakower in Fairbanks introduced the 44mm snowcat rim, offering a factory-made option for those seeking better flotation. But the heart of fat bike innovation remained in the hands of grassroots builders, people who welded, tested, and rode through the harshest winters, not for fame or profit, but because Alaska demanded it. In the fall of 1999, the Interbike trade show floor in Las Vegas buzzed with the usual parade of carbon frames and racing slicks. Tucked among the booths, Mark Gronewald rolled out a bike that stopped even seasoned industry veterans. It was built around Ray Molina's Remolino rims, massive and 82mm wide, paired with 3.5-inch tires meant to float over sand or snow. This was not a purpose-built machine, and it looked nothing like the mountain bikes of the day. Gronewald, owner of Wildfire Designs in Palmer, Alaska, had traveled thousands of miles to get these parts in front of the bike world. The Remolino moment was not just about showing off a new rim. It was a statement. The technology to ride deep snow and soft sand was ready for prime time. He did not come alone. Back in Alaska, John Evingson, a welder with experience on the Trans-Alaska Pipeline, was already fabricating custom frames to match these new, super-wide wheels. Together, they began building bikes, not just for themselves, but for anyone who needed to travel where ordinary tires failed. After Interbike, Gronewald brought Remolino rims and tires north, and the pace quickened. By 2000, he and Evingson were producing small runs of fat bikes, each frame handmade and each order custom. Riders could finally buy a bike designed from the ground up for snow, sand, and the wild places in between. What started as a series of garage experiments had stepped into the spotlight, offering a glimpse of what fat bikes could become when the right minds and the right tools came together. A tire's job is simple: keep the rider moving while staying on top of whatever is underneath. But when the ground turns to powder, sand, or loose gravel, the physics get complicated. Every tyre presses down on the surface, spreading the bike's weight over a patch of rubber. Make that patch wider, and the pressure drops, like snowshoes for a bike. That's why a 4.8-inch tyre can glide across soft snow, where a regular mountain bike would grind to a halt. The extra width means less sinking, more floating. But there's a catch. Wider tyres create more friction with the ground, especially when running at low pressures. That friction, known as rolling resistance, steals energy from every pedal stroke. On hard trails or pavement, a fat bike's huge contact patch acts like a brake, soaking up power that could be going forward. The weight adds up too. Fat bike wheels, tyres and frames are heavier by design, making each climb feel steeper and every turn slower to respond. Handling changes as well. The larger tyres flex and deform more, especially at the edges, which can make steering feel vague or delayed. Riders notice it most in tight corners or technical sections where precision matters. An engineer who has spent years testing both platforms puts it this way: fat tyres are unbeatable for float, but on regular trails, you're trading speed and agility for that extra cushion. The laws of physics don't give you anything for free. This balance between flotation and efficiency sets the stage for a direct comparison. What happens when a fat bike and a modern mountain bike face the same terrain, side by side? A stopwatch clicks to 0. Two bikes line up at the trailhead, one with towering 4.8-inch tyres, the other a modern 29-year with 2.6-inch rubber. Same rider, same course. The first lap begins on the fat bike. Each pedal stroke presses deep into the trail, the wide tyres flexing and squirming under load. Braking into the first corner, the front end pushes wide, fighting the extra weight and the slow rebound of low-pressure rubber. The rider leans hard, but the tyre rolls sideways, forcing a cautious line. On the next straight, acceleration feels muted, more effort, less speed. The lap card records a time that is far from fast. Switching to the 29-year, the difference is immediate. The narrower tyres bite into corners with precision. Braking points shrink. The lighter wheels spin up quickly, and the bike responds instantly to every input. The same rider finishes the lap noticeably quicker, breathing easier, legs less taxed. When asked to sum up the experience, the answer is blunt. The fat bike felt like pedaling a couch. Side by side, the numbers do not lie. Fat bikes deliver unmatched float on soft ground, but on regular trails, rolling resistance and tyre deformation sap momentum. The stopwatch and the rider's own words make the trade-offs impossible to ignore. By 2013, fat bikes were not just a winter novelty, they were a full-blown trend. At Interbike, the biggest names in cycling rolled out rows of fat-tired models, each promising adventure beyond the usual trail. Surly, Trek, Specialized, and Salsa filled booths with bikes sporting 4.8-inch tyres and bold claims of all-terrain freedom. Dealers took notice. Orders spiked as bike shops scrambled to keep up, lured by stories of sellouts and waiting lists from the previous season. For a while, it seemed like every shop needed fat bikes on the floor just to stay relevant. But the surge brought problems of its own. Shop owners recalled the pressure to stock ever more models, often in sizes and colors that did not move. One Minneapolis dealer remembers pallets of unsold inventory crowding the back room by spring. The promise of year-round sales clashed with the reality that most buyers rode their new bikes a handful of times before realizing the limitations. Brand reps pushed harder, flooding the market with options, but the mismatch between hype and everyday riding was becoming harder to ignore. The numbers looked good until the returns and markdowns started piling up. Riders who once bought fat bikes for their promise of all-terrain freedom started to look for something that could deliver float and traction without the penalties. By 2016, the modern 29-inch wheel mountain bike, with its 29-inch wheels and 2.4 to 2.6-inch tyres, offered a new answer. The numbers told a clear story. A 29-inch wheel with a 2.6-inch tyre rolled nearly as tall as a fat bike. But the narrower tread meant less rolling resistance and quicker handling. Riders found they could run lower pressures for grip, yet still carve turns and climb efficiently. One long-time fat bike owner described the switch. With my 29-inch bike, I kept almost all the confidence on loose stuff, but the bike finally felt alive again. Meanwhile, brands like Fatback continue to innovate for the hardcore winter crowd, pushing lighter frames, tubeless rims, and wider hubs. But for most riders, the 29-inch wheel bike became the go-to for year-round adventure, blending versatility and speed in a way fat bikes never could. Today, fat bikes are rare outside snow and sand, while 29-inch bikes dominate trails worldwide. Technology keeps moving, but hype still outpaces need in the bike industry. Every trend leaves a footprint. It reminds us that true innovation solves real problems. It does not just create marketing or hype. What do you think? Fadi or future?